Hey Ed Martin, how you
Hello,
doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. Well, actually, that's a good question. I'm not so good. I was so excited the last time I was talking to you. Like I could probably people could gauge just the excitement in our voices.
Yep.
But now it's such a different situation. The chicks didn't make it, and now the season for us is canceled. So how does this
Yeah.
happen with grouse? We're so gutted.
I mean, what has happened with the grouse is it's potentially what makes grouse shooting so special. Obviously, it's all down to the balance of nature, and it all balances on that because grouse are not reared here in well, they're not rearable at all. But grouse are not reared. It's a completely natural process. Obviously, they rely on the birds reproducing, having broods, bringing young up, ready to have stock for the next season, which unfortunately all depends on Mother
Yeah,
Nature and
I
the
know.
weather.
So
And the
yeah, so
weather
what
over here has
happens?
been horrible.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. All the rains, it was, I guess, unprecedented
Yeah.
amount of rain that you guys had. So tell me, how do the chicks get affected? I mean, what would make them not survive?
So there's a couple of reasons, and obviously up and down the country, everybody is experiencing different things. So broadly, obviously, the issue with the grouse with the worm, this is obviously it gets into the grouse, and it makes them very unhealthy. It makes it very difficult for them to reproduce. We also have issues with heather beetle over here, and we didn't have a harsh enough winter to kill the heather beetle off, which again
Mm,
then obviously affects the food that is available to them, and then obviously again just how goddamn wet it's been. The weather over here this year has been the wettest I've known it for a very, very long time. I mean, very broadly speaking, obviously, as I've said, everybody is experiencing different issues, but they're probably three of the main issues that have hit the country, unfortunately, this year, and it's widespread. Everybody up and down the country is in the same issue. There's a lot of grouse days being cancelled everywhere.
yeah, yeah, I know. And I'm on a text chain with all of our loaders. You're included in
Yep.
there. And we were so sad 2 days ago when we found out. And so it doesn't just affect me. I mean, I was definitely devastated to not be in a grouse butt with you shooting, but it isn't just me that's affected. Tell me, like, who all is going to be affected by this season being
So
canceled?
it's everybody from the keepers to local businesses, and from keepers down. I mean, for example, a day's grouse loading, you're going to have between 24 and 26 beaters. They're now not going to get paid the amount that they'd expected to get paid. Again, with picker uppers, you might have two or three picker uppers working the dogs, impacting them financially, as well, obviously, mainly the keepers who are not going to be getting the revenue in through for the grouse shooting. Down from there, it obviously hugely affects local businesses such as catering firms that will be coming in. Obviously, on our days, there would have been a company coming to do the food and catering, the local hotels, the local bars, the local restaurants, even down to things like the local fuel stations.
Yeah. And I mean, at least you're a little bit diversified with your gun shop, but
Yep.
there are loaders that we're counting on these days to be out with their guns. And
Yeah.
I know that we're on a text chain with all the loaders. And when we were texting on WhatsApp just a couple days ago, I could feel the disappointment in,
Yeah.
having them say like 100 days now canceled,
Yeah. Yeah. It's massive. I mean, you and I both spoke to different agents to see if we could stir something up, and everybody's in the same boat. So again, that's another side of the grouse shooting problem that's affected is the agents who supply the sport, who supply the days. They're impacted because they're bleeding days, and they could have lost 20, 30, 40 days dependent on how bad things are in localized areas.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess that's what makes grouse shooting so epic and elusive. And, just when you get there, it's bittersweet,
Yeah.
when this stuff happens. But when we plan on getting there next year, it's just going to taste that much better because we went through this. Is this why it's so expensive?
Yeah, because there's so much hard work goes in to you know to grouse shooting from the keepers. I mean, you know, almost linking in back to what we were saying into how it impacts the keepers. You will have had some keepers out there, cutting tracks up on the moors, painting the butts, rebuilding butts, doing all the things that they needed to do to get ready for the season. So, you know, there is a lot that goes into it, but it is, as I've already mentioned again, what has happened, because everything relies on Mother Nature. It's what makes this sport so incredibly special, because everything, is down to hard work of the keepers and, and Mother Nature.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we did switch our program this year. We used to have it where it's 2 days of grouse shooting and then 2 days of partridge. But our guys, they're used to partridge. They're used, and women, they're used to the driven pheasant, the driven partridge, but it's the grouse that they want. And so, everyone's getting a full refund, and they're just I called them all yesterday, and I feel like they took it so much better than I did. I think I'm the most upset out of everybody, but all 8 guns have, just said, we're going next year, save a spot for us next year. So what does next year look like?
It's very, very difficult to say. The best thing we can do is to be positive and hope for a good winter. And, the reasons that the keepers will be cancelling days is to ensure that there is enough good breeding stock left to produce, hopefully, for next season. It is very much one of those things that, you don't really know until, unfortunately, this time of year.
Right, right.
So all we can do is, keep our fingers crossed and support the guys up at the top on the moors that are doing the hard work and the graft, and just, hoping that next year is a better year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're definitely hopeful. And but one last question, because some people say, well, my pheasant days and my partridge days weren't affected like the grouse days. Can you explain the difference between the birds?
Yeah. So pheasant and partridge shooting is a completely different animal to grouse shooting. There is a lot more control over pheasant and partridge shooting because the birds are physically reared. The keepers will buy the birds in set quantities to what they need for that season. They are fed, they are medicated, they are looked after. It's just a completely different animal, and there is a lot more control over that kind of shooting. Obviously, you do again get issues with, obviously, we've had issues with bird flu and viruses and things like that we can lose birds to. Again, that is always quite a big risk of anything to do with shooting related, but compared to grouse shooting, there is a lot more control.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why, for us, we had 1 week of grouse, but all of the rest of our trips are a go. But thank you so much, Ed, for just kind of explaining it to us. And just again, so disappointed that I will not be shooting with you this year. But well, hopefully, maybe we'll do some
We'll
things,
do we'll do something.
some
We'll do
simulated,
something. Yeah,
but not the real deal. But 2025, put it
we're
on
on.
your calendar.
We're on.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ed.
No problem. Thank you for talking to.
Yeah. Cheers.
Bye.